Welcome to the Real Estate Explainer podcast, where we talk about anything and everything real estate. I'm your host, Brian Kixula. Take notes. Today, Jeff Berman will be talking about finding off-market land deals in Northport, Florida. So welcome to the podcast, Jeff. I'm excited to dig into the Northport market, specifically looking at off-market land deals. But before we jump into the off-market land deals piece, I think we really need to identify what makes Northport such a niche market. So first of all where is Northport?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the invite, Brian. Looking forward to this. So Northport is located along the central west coast of Florida, sort of lies between Tampa and Naples. And it's located in Sarasota County, which lies between Manatee County to the north and Charlotte County to the south. So a lot of people think that Northport is in Charlotte County, just because its original name was Northport, Charlotte, but it is not. It's in Sarasota County. And Northport is its own incorporated city. So makes it interesting because you're dealing with the city itself rather than the county and the laws and rules the city puts forward.
All right. So basically Northport's about an hour 15 minutes south of Tampa. So about 30 minutes south of Sarasota, correct? I mean,
right. In round numbers, given the current.
All right. And then historically, I mean, Northport, I live down in Sarasota, Florida. Northport is an upcoming area. You've been doing land deals down there for, I don't know, what is it, plus or minus 20 years. So you've definitely been in the market for a long time. Now, what is unique? What really drives land deals in Northport specifically?
Well, I would say the specific thing that ultimately drives it is the availability of vacant home sites. It's an area that was developed by a company called General Development. And they went in there and they put all the roads in. They did some drainage. And then they started marketing these lots to people up north. And this was done, in the 60s. And that's how it began. And why it's so attractive is because you have basically an open subdivision here in terms of thousands and thousands of empty lots that are there to be built upon ultimately.
So to like kind of narrow it down, what I'm looking at is, if you're in San Diego, California, you're not going to use the same strategy. So what you've identified a community that's next to, let's say, another major city. Let's call it Fort Myers, Tampa, it's south of Sarasota, and they've got thousands of lots. So literally thousands of open lots that a company had built. So they subdivided out the land and then they marketed it to individuals up north. So they're selling these lots to guys in New York, New Jersey, probably Chicago, Illinois, the different areas. So now you've got, let's say, owners that own lots that have, would you say they've even seen these lots? Have they ever driven down to Northport? Do they know what they bought?
Well, back in the day, they were actually flying people down to Northport and they were putting them up in a hotel and they drive them around the general area. Honestly, they didn't drive them to their exact properties, but they just sort of said, oh, your lot's over here. So in reality, I bet you most of these people have not seen their specific property.
All right, then fast forward to today. So 2023, you have an abundance of people who own lots that have never seen them, that have been paying tax bills on these lots for, I don't know, years and years. And maybe they're sick of paying the tax bills. Maybe they inherited the lot and they are never planning on building this. So these are the opportunities that you're uncovering. Is that fair?
Yeah, very much so. Originally, before the area started to really explode in terms of developers and investors looking at it, you could go up to the county and you could buy properties that were on the tax available book, which is essentially you pay the taxes remaining on the property and you own it. And then you have to go through a series of court hearings and whatnot to get the property cleared and get clear title. But the path was quite easy, actually. So that's how it started originally. People just weren't paying their taxes. The property would be back to the county, and then the county would then try and dispose of the property.
All right, now, so in today's market, again, and we've talked about it at length, what you're seeing, because you own property in Northport, is you're getting letters from individuals that are looking to buy your lots. So you're getting cold solicitations, whether it's by text, by email, or by letters in the mail. I want to find out, or just hear a little bit more. What's your approach? What's your step-by-step to uncovering off-market land deals in today's market, contacting the clients, and then, ultimately closing the deal? And then also, what makes a good deal? I mean, we all know that typically you make money when you purchase property, meaning you're getting a deal that's undervalued for some reason, off market or on market. So just if you could, provide a little bit of insight as to what you do to acquire these lots.
Sure. Well, we were actually one of the first to start the direct mailing before there were all these seminars out there on how to purchase. We were doing a mailing, and at that point, it was very tedious. You actually had to go to the county. This was even before the internet was strong. You actually had to go to the county, get the property, name and address, and write a letter to the property owner. So you fast forward today, and yeah, you're correct. During the past couple of years, I've probably received more than 1,000 letters in the mail, probably a couple hundred at least texts, and then some phone calls as well, direct phone calls of individuals who are trying to purchase property. And generally, they're a form letter. It's interesting because I save them, and you could look at them and you see a common pattern. So these are individuals who are going to some sort of seminar and possibly paying several $1,000s or more to learn the process. The letters are not very personalized. They're a form letter. They generally will have brief information about the person who's offering to buy. Sometimes it's a corporate name, sometimes it's an individual. They go through just a few points and then they make an offer. Our technique historically has been similar, but we do a more personalized approach. Our letters are signed by hand, for instance. We'll include a personalized note sometimes about where their property is located and what's going on in a specific area. We'll have their name written out in full with their address. We'll have the full legal description of the property, parcel number, everything on a piece of paper. And we do make them a net to them offer at that point, but we don't include a standard contract or anything like that as some others do.
So just to unpack this a little bit, because I think that's really the gold in this, is it doesn't sound like you're sending out 10,000 letters. You're not pulling the entire list of lots, identifying it, and mass mailing a generic, as you said, a form letter. You're going in and you're really looking at the individual lot. You're personalizing the letter, including their name, the full address. You talk about the lot that you're looking at, why you would want to acquire it. Your lot's on a canal, you've got a upcoming subdivision. I'm interested in building a home on that lot. Then you're signing it. And let me restate that. Let me restate what you just said. You're also including a net to them offer. So you are making an offer in the letter, all by your lot. Give me an idea. How much are these lots? What's an offer? What's a lot look like there? What's your average offer price?
Well, average is hard to say because once again, we're going at everything on a lot by lot basis. So in a lot of cases on a particular street, there may be one lot that is entirely, let's say, wooded. There may be another lot that's partially wooded. Okay. In my mind, those lots are worth two different numbers. There may be a lot that is above street grade. In other words, it has adequate fill on it. There may be another lot that's level with street grade. Those two lots have different offers.
Okay, so the wooded lot, what are you looking at when you're looking at a wooded lot? My guess is it's clearing the lot, it's bringing it to grade. So you're really going in and you're identifying the lot that you're making an offer on, you're really looking at it. Are you driving down and looking at these? Are you doing a Google Earth flyover? Are you hiring a postman or an Uber driver to drive by it? What's the strategy?
No, actually, Brian, I've looked at every single lot that I've made an offer on, and I've probably looked at it multiple times because I've been doing this for over 25 years now. So I'll go buy a lot now that I've probably seen maybe several times before. I don't write an offer until I've looked at the property again. You never know what's happened to the property next to the one you're looking at. And as we know with Google Maps or any of the other services, they are dated. It's not like it happened last week.
Okay, so you're looking at these lots. You usually have seen them a couple of times. You're looking at the condition of the lot, whether you need to add and fill. Do these lots, are they blue top? Do they have electric to them? Do they have septic or sewer? Are they, what's the condition? Are they just straight raw lots?
Yeah, so they many of the properties do have electricity to them. Florida Power and Light is our service down here. If the lot does not have electricity to it, you have to sort of count telephone poles to get an idea of what that cost will be. So, and in terms of other utilities, water and sewage, most lots down there are well. In other words, you build an on-site well with a water purification system, and then you also build a septic system.
Okay. So then going in, you're making the seller an offer, a net offer, so they know how much they're going to walk away with. So you already know all your upfront costs. You've already done that work. So you know the lot, you know the closing cost involved. How are you pricing these so that you're going to make money on the back end? I mean, lots and land deals are inherently risky because you're probably not getting financing. You're putting your cash out there, or you're borrowing cash at very high interest rates, which I would not recommend doing. So your margins are probably tight, and you're not going to be generating income on these lots. It's not like you're renting them out for parking or camping or anything like that. They're in a subdivision where you've got a home next door or a home that's under construction. Again, it's amazing. So how do you price these things out so that you know that you're going to make money and that offer that you're making to the seller is going to pencil?
All right. Well, I use multiple listing as my guide, multiple listing service as my guide as to a retail number. I also have contact with multiple builders down there, and I know what the builders will pay at any given time. So from that point, it's just, subtraction. So generally speaking, I'll try and hold a property 1 year to get the long-term capital gain advantage. So you have to put that calculation, time value of money into that. You also have your real estate taxes. What is that running? Right now, taxes down there are somewhere between $600 and $800 per lot. Now, if you have two lots, you can combine those, so you can do a savings on real estate taxes, and that's a big bonus that a lot of people don't know about. So let's just say multiple listing numbers right now are in the $20,000, low $20,000 range, which is probably where they're at. Given that, you want to back off those specific hard costs that you're aware of, and then make your offer price. For me, I've never financed a lot. This is all my own money. So I know that if I was going to have a safe value of money right now, I'd figure somewhere between 5 and 6% in a money market or CD or whatnot. So these are all things that I consider. It's just going through a spreadsheet and backing out. In terms of profit margin, I've bought lots for $600 and sold them for $30,000. Now, that's not the norm, but it's been done. 10 years ago, I was probably buying land for $3,000 and selling it for $10,000.
Okay.
Things are definitely different now. You have to be a little bit more realistic on numbers.
I'd like to thank our sponsor, U.S. Tax Advisors Group, a cost segregation company. To learn more about cost segregation, visit realestateexplainer.com and click on the cost segregation link on the top of the page. So what you just said is typically what you're seeing right now, if I heard you correctly, is that a lot is selling for right around $20,000, a single family lot on the MLS. So this is a retail deal. If I were to go on, I could just buy a lot for $20,000 and then I could build a home on it. So what you're doing is you're then going in and you're saying, I'm going to have, sales costs, I have closing cost. So you know exactly what that is. Did you say your closing costs are a total of 6%, or what's your typical closing cost on a
Yeah,
deal?
it depends the volume I'm doing at a specific time. Total closing costs right now, you're probably around $500 for a nice round number. Um, so
Because
that
there's no real estate commissions. This is just title
no,
fees, basic closing
exactly. This
fees.
is just title fees, exactly, and title insurance, correct? Because I buy title insurance on every property.
Okay, you've got a retail lot at $20,000. You knock off $500 for the closing fees. And then you figure if you were to invest the money just in today's money market accounts, you could probably get 5 or 6%. Plus, you're going to have holding costs and real estate taxes. So let's knock off another $600 for real estate taxes. That puts us at $18,900 for base cost just to get into it. So then you would say, okay, well, if I was going to just invest $18,900 into, the market, into the money market or stock market or whatever, which is definitely a safe bet at 5%, you could make another $945 without taking any risk at all. So my guess, and this is just a ballpark, would you go in and offer someone something right around, I don't know, let's call it $15,000 for that $20,000 lot, because you know that at least you're going to make a couple of $1,000s on the deal. Let's call it
Yeah,
$3,000.
that's not a bad way of doing it. I would say more accurately, I would probably be purchasing that lot to for somewhere in the $12,000 to $13,000 range. But you're not far off
Okay.
at all, because you have to remember, obviously, that you've got that year of holding costs, and you don't know what the market's going to do in a year. So you could have a continually stagnant market, or we could have a nice recovery by then. You
Okay.
want to
So
make sure.
what you're saying is maybe I should factor something in more like, I don't know, 2 years or 3 years of property taxes, or maybe 2 years or 3 years of not earning that 5 or 6% in the market. So what we're looking at, and when I said $15,000, I was basing it on, that $20,000 lot. You subtract out the $500 in closing costs, and then you subtract out 1 year of property taxes.
Right.
But what you're saying is that, the margins are definitely thin on these land deals, and you really do have holding costs. So you're going to have to pay your property taxes, and you're not going to be getting income on that property. So you really have to know your numbers going in and making those offers. So on that $20,000 retail price, you would make an offer of $13,000. And in the letter that you send to the owner, are you selling that? Do you sell the holding costs? Do you try to have them feel pain in the letter, or are you just laying out the basic, here's the economics. Retail your lot is $20,000. If you were hired a real estate agent, how much is a realtor going to charge on a land deal?
Probably 8 to 10% down there.
So you're going to charge, they're going to charge you 10% right off the top. So you're going to get $18,000 anyways, or maybe. So you're just offering them kind of a walkaway price that is attractive. Now, are you going in and trying to lowball sellers? The grandma who bought the property with her husband back in the 1980s and now just has to unload it? Or are you giving them a fair offer?
The days of lowball in my market area are long gone. I did do that, and I wouldn't call it lowball, but we were paying a fair price for what they had back in the day. But today, the issue is these people have likely received multiple letters from me, likely received letters from others, and they have an idea of what their property is likely worth, at least at the time they've received the letters. It's funny because I'll send a letter to somebody, and they'll say, "Oh, I've been holding on to these other letters for about 5 years now." And I'm like, "Oh, great! What were their offer prices?" And it's fun to look back to see. And sometimes one of those letters was mine. So these people are getting hit quite often by those form letter guys, and you need to do something a little more creative. I do tell them that I'm covering all costs. I do tell them there are no real estate commissions paid, and I do tell them that I can close in 2 weeks if they'd like.
So this is a cash deal. Yep.
Right.
So that's awesome. I mean, I would love to, and we'll definitely talk offline. I want to buy a lot. I want to buy lots of lots if possible. But really, I want to make sure that when I'm looking at these specific properties, that I understand the numbers inside and out. You had talked about guys that are buying courses. I think, getting educated on real estate topics is absolutely critical before you start making offers. But certainly understanding the economics of what you're buying, your real holding cost, and what the disposition is going to be. What are you going to do with the properties? I've known that, or I know that you've built several homes on lots as well, down in the Northport market, which is interesting as well, because then you're going in and you're actually buying the lot off market. Then you're going in and you're building a home, a duplex, whatever it is, and then you're selling it retail on the MLS as well. And I think that would be a great podcast for another day.
Sure.
So I think you've really unpacked just quite a bit of information on the call. And what I would like to do is I'm going to summarize this, and I'll actually put it on the realestateexplainer.com website just to organize my thoughts a little bit and organize the conversation. One of the things I wanted to ask about is the biggest, I was going to say challenges. I think that was a question that I sent you, but I want to say, what was your biggest failure? What was the biggest failure? Because, everybody likes to hear a good horror story or pain story when it comes to real estate. And then it's always that hero's journey. Then what was your biggest, your biggest win? So what was the biggest failure that you've seen, that you've had with doing land deals?
Yeah, well, I would say missed opportunity is the biggest failure. So when I first started this, I was doing this with my father, and he was a great gentleman, had invested in real estate before. I have a degree in real estate from Florida State University, so we sort of came together and started this business, and doing fantastic. And during the boom area down in Northport, which was like 2005, 2006. We had lots in our portfolio that we had purchased for well less than $10,000. I would say the average was probably closer to $7,000. And at that point, those lots were selling in the upper $40,000 range. So we had basically $40,000, and figure that out on a percentage of our return. Dad, bless his heart, was anti-taxes. So he did not want to give the government and pay a lot of taxes. So we slowed down our sales. Well, what happened is we had about 200 lots in our portfolio as things turned south. And those lots that were selling in the upper 40s soon were selling in the 20s, and soon were selling in the teens, and ultimately bottomed right about at our cost, which was somewhere in the $7,000 to $10,000 range. So a huge missed opportunity. So I consider that a failure. I've learned since then is you just pay your taxes and you move on. We didn't do that. The other failure is you will once in a while get caught down there with a lot that isn't what you expected. There are some endangered species down in Northport. Scrub jay, gopher tortoise are two that come to mind. Gopher tortoises don't stay put. In other words, they walk, and they will walk from lot to lot. And if you happen to have a lot that has gopher tortoises on them, the value of your lot is going to be impacted severely if you're looking to get out of it at that time. So I have lost money on a couple of deals because of endangered species. Other than that,
so you lost about $6 million because of not wanting to pay taxes. If I did the numbers right, $6 million because you didn't want to pay taxes.
That's about.
And then you bought a lot that had a turtle walk across it, or a tortoise walk across it. And all of a sudden a lot becomes worth 50% of what you bought it for. And I'll tell you, that really hits home. When I got started in real estate back in the early 2000s, I worked for a home builder in San Diego, and we were building in Riverside County. And we had out in the Paris area, we were building thousands of homes, if you will. And we had vernal pools. So a vernal pool is, just I don't know, it's a vernal pool. It's just a little pond that dries up. And what would happen is when it rained, you get these fairy fish. So think of maybe like, I don't know, a fairy fish, something that comes to life when the water hits the vernal pool. And now you've got an endangered species. And that was such a problem because they were trying to build massive subdivisions, and they would do exactly what they were doing down in Northport is they would map out these plots of land, they'd subdivide it, they would buy property from farmers and everybody else, combine these lots or these farms so they could subdivide them into lots just like they did down in Northport. And then what was happening is when the builder would go out there with their big trucks to stake the lot and to like really survey everything, the equipment that they were using was creating the vernal pools that I was talking about. So then the next year when it rained, they'd have to have a biologist come out and survey the property. And sure as shit, there would be an endangered species living in a tire track. And it just blew my mind that is what could derail a real estate transaction. So I guess that's another real challenger, one of those things that you need to look at when you're buying land is, you might not want to make an offer to buy a piece of property that you know nothing about because God forbid a gopher tortoise walked across it and decided to dig a hole. And now it literally lives in the middle of your lot where you're going to build your home. What do you do in that case? I mean, what do you do? Wait 3 generations of gopher tortoise before they go away? What do you do in that scenario?
Well, unfortunately, environmental regulations are getting stronger by the year. So it used to be that we could move the little guy to an adjacent lot or to a rear portion of the lot. You could actually get in there and, with the appropriate people overseeing it, move it to another portion. Well, now you actually have to get up because of development out down there and actually move it to another county. So the costs have gone from, $1,000 to $10,000 or whatever. But if you're doing volume, once again, it's a cost of doing business in that case. Yep. If you're buying, 100 lots and one has an issue, hopefully your profit margin is such that you can just, write that one off and move on.
And then we were also talking about successes, your biggest challenges or failures that you've had. I know recently, if you don't mind me sharing, is that you've sold lots. And I think you sold a pool of lots to an investor. How do you go about evaluating a deal where you're looking at selling a large portion of your portfolio to a developer who's looking at coming in, building a neighborhood? When does it make sense to say yes to that offer? Because again, just like you sending out these letters to owners of property that own 1 or 2 lots, you got an offer from a developer who owned multiple lots. Tell me about that transaction. How did that come across your desk and what made you say yes?
Yeah, so obviously they got my number from the public records and they contacted me wanting to look at my entire holdings. And at that point, my holdings were somewhere around, I believe, upper 30s, 38 lots, possibly, I believe. And this was a time that was earlier this year when they started to look at that. And when it came through, they did their due diligence and they narrowed it down to, I believe it was 18 lots at that point. And they came forward with an offer. They presented it to me via email. I basically replied back, no, thank you. And that was the extent of it. Then I got a phone call, I think a day later, and we want to give you another offer. I'm like, sure, send it my way. So they increased the offer again, and I wrote back, thanks again, no thank you. So I believe it was this one on 3 times, and the 4th offer came across, and now we were getting somewhere. This was an offer that was really right where I thought the property should sell at that time. And the advantage there was they were not taking a real estate commission. So they had hit the number I wanted, and I wasn't getting a deduction of 8 to 10% of a real estate commission. So it was a win-win for me. We went into contract. Being a builder, they'll have a longer due diligence period and a longer period until the money goes hard. In this case, it was a 30-day due diligence and then another 90 days while they pulled permits and things like that. So anyhow, the deal did close, and it closed mid-year. And since that point, the market's gotten only weaker. in terms of value. So I would say that's a home run for 2020.
That's a win for you. And what I think is really cool about that story is we just uncovered how you find off-market deals in Northport, Florida, and how you're buying individual properties from property owners. And then kind of full circle, you had someone approach you to do the same technique and in the same manner that you do it, not a generic form letter that gets blasted out there, but they really understood each individual lot you owned and they made a personal offer. They knew that, not paying the real estate commission in this instance made a difference. So that's just a cool takeaway on it. Before we wrap up the call, I just wanted to ask too, I know you've got a Facebook page. I'd like to, have you share it with the audience and just talk about that a little bit as far as, are you generating leads or interest, or how do you use your Facebook page, and how can the audience members maybe connect with you?
Yeah, so Facebook really hasn't done much. That's something that really, I don't know, I haven't really pursued that all that much. Under Facebook, I'm just under Jeff Berman in Sarasota. I've got another Facebook page that's called Berman Valuation Services, my last name, Berman Valuation Services. I do have a website, and that is N for North, P for Port, LOTS.com. So northportlots.com, NPLOTS.com. And on that page, you'll see that I actually buy lots, sell lots, and you'll see I've built 36 or so homes. You'll see some photos of those homes on there as well. But yeah, that's about it. I probably purchased, since that website's been up, maybe a dozen lots through the website. It doesn't pull a lot. Those would just be people that were searching online, looking to sell some property, and that's generally not what people are doing today.
Well, that's awesome. That's something that you weren't even putting that much effort into is still generated, deals. So I guess, that's pretty amazing. All right, we'll go to wrap up the call, and just wanted to say thanks again for having you on the show, and I will talk to you real soon.
All right, great, Brian. Thank you.
If you would like more information on Northport, visit realestateexplainer.com/Northport.